right, and we're live with James Burstall today. James, as all of you know, is the chief executive of the Argonon Group, joining us all the way from the UK. James, wonderful, wonderful pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks very much, Atul. I'm very pleased to be here with you.
Thank you. One key aspect that James, I wanted to sort of say right up front is that our network, is 60,000 plus execs globally. So the Vitrina business network is pretty wide. Our members are across 100 countries. They actually depend on Vitrina to really understand companies that are innovating, companies that are at the forefront of the craft that they do, whether it's in IP or whether it's in production, post, localization, so on and so forth. Our sort of role as Vitrina is to highlight some of these companies and their best work, and also plot the direction of where they are heading as the supply chain goes through tremendous amount of transformations. With that said, I have lots of questions for you. But right off the bat, just wanted to understand, a little bit about your journey, and then also, when you founded the Argonon Group, what was the story behind that, and that'd be a great place to start.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here, and it's great to be connected. I run a production group. We produce television content across all the platforms. We are headquartered in London, and we have offices in Liverpool, Glasgow, New York, and Los Angeles. And we actually sell our shows to 167 countries around the world.
Wow.
So we are definitely a globalized business, but the axis of our core expertise is the UK and the US. So we are very deliberately a diversified group. We've existed since 2011, and we have 7 production companies within the Argonon mothership, the Argonon umbrella, if you like. And the 7 different companies do very different things, ranging from very high-end documentary, science, technology, engineering, space, through to reality and entertainment, through to shiny floor Saturday night entertainment for the family, through to scripted drama, both comedy and more serious adult and family drama, and investigative current affairs. So we really consciously cover the whole spectrum of programming. And I have attracted a number of people, about 20 key creatives and executives from around the industry, from all over the world, a very diverse group of people who are really A-list talent. And us, at the core of our business, it's people who are talented, who want to work collaboratively. They are expert at what they do, and they want to work with other very clever people in order to leverage their expertise, both in terms of pushing the envelope creatively, but also looking for innovative business models of how to get our content out there into the world and then disseminated around the world.
Fascinating. And these 20 sort of top creative A-listers, are they all in the UK? Are they spread out in different offices? How do you sort of look at that part?
Yeah, so my core team, as I said, are based between the UK and the US.
Okay.
And they are experts in their different fields. And actually, the truth is, we pride ourselves on being a hub where talent from all parts of the world are encouraged to come and do their best work. We are very good at supporting and nurturing creative people. As you know, it's difficult being creative. The stakes are very, very high. Things can go brilliantly well and you can win Oscars, and things can be very difficult. And in truth, the market really in COVID was tough. Obviously, production was shut down completely in COVID. And then since then, we've had mass inflation. We've got many global problems around the world, including Ukraine, Gaza, the cost of living crisis, and indeed climate change events happening around the planet, which make running any sort of business extremely difficult. So we have made considerable effort to make sure that Argonon is a creative business. So ideas and people come first, but we also have very, very tight management and infrastructure to make sure that our people can navigate the complexities of the world we live in and not only do great work that wins awards. We've won more than 130 international awards, but
Whoa.
also make sure we make money because we are a business. So we want to do both those things.
Fascinating, fascinating. And the one curious sort of aspect that I was sort of looking at, just in terms of the expansion of the group, was you know you launched Rose Rock Entertainment, right? That's a new production label, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
12 months ago, just coming out of COVID. Yeah, we set up
wow,
in Oklahoma, in the middle of the US.
fascinating. And so, what's the story behind that? How did that come about? And also, strategically, how I mean, was it to strengthen some specific parts of your US exposure or US business?
Yeah, well, I mean, world events have been astonishing, haven't they, in the last few years? So many crazy different things have been happening. Um, First of all, as I said, there was COVID, and COVID really just threw all the cards up in the air in our sector. There were many people who lost their jobs. As I said, in March 2020, we were told that there would be no production at all for 12 months. And of course, if we have no production, we have no income and we don't have a business. So that was not an option. We had to come up with innovative ways to come through COVID and get back into production. Combine that also with the changing political landscape. We've had Donald Trump in the US, which has been reflected in the UK and elsewhere. There's been a return to populism. And the good piece of that,
Hmm.
which, because I'm always looking for the positives in these big shifts and challenges, is that it has given a voice to millions of people around the world who felt that they had been left behind. So the middle of America, like the middle of the UK and many other countries, has felt disenfranchised and not having access to power or indeed the media. So coming out of COVID, there's a very brilliant executive called Joe Weinstock, who's an American executive producer who had moved from New York back home to Oklahoma because of COVID.
Hmm.
He decided that he was at a point in his life either to continue the business he was working in or maybe look for a new joint venture. And we really like joint ventures. They're very innovative, they're very entrepreneurial. They give creatives and business people an opportunity to have skin in the game whilst accessing the strength and the leveraging power, if you like, of a bigger group.
Hmm.
And the fact that Joe was based in Oklahoma said to me, this is a really good way for us to speak to those millions of people in the US who do not live on the coasts. They do not live in Los Angeles and they don't live in New York.
Right.
And of course, that's millions of Americans. So Joe's particular USP was that he is an expert in male skewed primetime programming. So shows about cowboys and about pilots and about big American country and nature. Um, and he was geographically in a place where we felt this is important. We make lots of shows for people who live in New York and Los Angeles. And we also want to be making shows for other people in America who are not interested in those cities at all and who actually live what we call a much more Americana kind of life. So in a creative business, you always have to be flexible. You always have to be evolving. And you have to be very conscious of world trends. And this
Hmm.
was the world trend that we decided we wanted to be part of.
Fascinating, fascinating. There are so many aspects that I picked up from your story, just in terms of the insights guiding your acquisitions or expansion, as well as the opportunism that is required in any entrepreneurial venture. So again, congratulations on the launch, and that sounds like it's a very well thought out, well crafted sort of a joint venture for the US market.
Yeah, I mean, joint ventures are, they're not new, but I did one originally myself back in 2001 when I set up my first company. And I was backed by a very successful business. And I was, in my 30s. I was a jobbing producer. I needed some muscle behind me. I also know that when you're trying to sell programs to channels all around the world, these are projects which are worth millions of dollars. And if you were just a one man band setting up, in your bedroom, a small business, that feels very high risk to the BBC or Discovery or Netflix or any of the big buyers. So actually having a joint venture with a company behind you who has muscle, who's got expertise, who's got reputation, who's got depth of knowledge, and also cash flow,
Hmm.
these things matter.
Yeah, that's
And if you combine that infrastructure and support with what is very important for people like us now is to know that you can be master or mistress of your own destiny. You can have skin in the game. I think the time of being an employee who just takes a paycheck and at the end of a long career just hangs up their boots and goes home with really nothing to show, I think that's very disheartening. And I don't think it helps people do their best work. I
hmm,
think we do our best work when we feel we're validated, we're valued, we're surrounded by good people who respect us, we are paid well.
right.
And when we do really well, we participate in that success.
Hmm,
Because if I see that, my colleagues are doing well, and if I see that we're bringing in business, I want to be part of that. And I want them to be part of it too, because then it
that-
becomes a mutual collaboration
hmm,
and we become much, much stronger than by doing things on our own or just being an employee who really is never properly valued.
right. Right. Fascinating. Fascinating. And clearly that looks like the recipe for some of the JVs and acquisitions that you've had. Do you apply the same logic when you've been acquiring companies? I mean, you've had a couple of acquisitions as well.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what guided that. Those was it opportunistic or was it well thought out? Was it talk us a little bit about that journey?
Well, when I decided to set up Argonon in 2011, I did want to build a very different kind of group. There are
Mhm.
many groups in the media space, the television production space that have gone before, and there will be many more to come, of course. But what I felt strongly about was that I wanted to build into the structure before we even launched. I wanted to build into the structure that all the key players, the top creatives and the top business people, would have either shares or share options. They would have skin in the game. They would have stock. Because I felt very strongly from my own experience that I didn't want to just be an employee. And I think that's an outdated way of thinking quite often now. I think people frequently now demand to have skin in the game.
Right.
So this group was already from the get go going to be a federation. So when we went out when we set up our strategy in 2011, the plan was to do three things. One, to acquire businesses that were complementary and different to us, to become a properly diversified group
Mm.
internationally, and across all the genres, different kinds of programming. We would do joint ventures with key entrepreneurs who wanted that extra skin in the game, who were very, very warrior like, if you like, because it's not easy
Right.
being a standard founder. And then we would also seek new talent, individual talent who didn't want their own business, but we could inject into existing businesses. Because there's no point doing anything, whether it's an acquisition or a joint venture, unless you can add to it. You can make it bigger than what it was. You don't want to just carry on doing the same thing. By
That's
all
right.
means, you want to super serve what you're already doing. You don't want to mess with what's already there. But at the same time, you want to bring extra relationships, new ideas, new ways of thinking, new technologies, so that that business can grow and become bigger than what it was previously. So
Right.
that's really been behind all of our planning. And therefore, I just want you to understand that built into the very structure of the group is this sense of a federation where all the key players have skin in the game.
Fascinating, fascinating, and I have to ask you this. Given how tough 2023 was for the industry, a diversified portfolio, especially with all the kind of content that you talked about, as well as this US UK sort of focus, does a diversified sort of group is it able to sort of fight some of these slowdown pressures and high
Yeah.
inflation pressures differently than standalones?
I think it's essential to be diversified. In my sector, in television production, things go in and out of fashion. 1 minute everybody wants a funny comedy show or a show that's good for kids. Next minute, everybody wants very dark, gritty film noir, thriller, horror. And
That's right.
it flips and things go in and out of fashion. And that's okay. That's the nature of, that's the nature of the audience and it's the nature of the industry. So you have to play along with that. You want to be on the wave. In fact, you want to be ahead of the wave. So it really felt important to be able to be naturally going with the flow, whilst at the same time making sure that you have some core expertise, long-running returning series, long-running returning business, which are your bottom line. So you do
Hmm.
have to make sure that you have both of those things.
Hmm. Fascinating. And look, I mean, but in general, how was 2023 for the group, especially given the Hollywood strikes
Yeah,
that did seem to affect, several markets even outside of the US.
yeah,
How was it for the group?
it was extremely painful for everybody, and I'm very relieved that they've managed to find agreement. But yes, for 12 months, people who worked in scripted had no work, and that was very, very painful for everybody involved.
Right.
But they have reached agreement, so that is a good thing. Yeah, 2023 was a difficult year. I have to say that thanks to the fact that we are diversified, we managed to remain steady. My group didn't,
Okay.
drop off a cliff as some of my colleagues have. Some of my
Right.
colleagues have had a very difficult time, and there have
Wow.
been closures, and thousands of people have lost their jobs. There's been
Right.
mass consolidation across the sector as well, and it's been very, very difficult. But my business managed to sustain itself.
Okay. Okay.
We've continued to do to produce our long-running successful series, which is great. And little pieces of original content have come through. And actually, since October, things have started changing.
Hmm.
We noticed a shift back in October when, particularly first of all in the US, we started seeing original new ideas going into first stage development. We
Hmm.
won 20 funded developments in the final quarter of last year. And that's the starting place, if you like, for shows to really kind of blossom into big shows that get produced. And we're now starting to see productions come through. So we've had a number of commissions at the beginning of this year.
Nice.
And I do feel that, it's the aphorism that people are using, which is stay alive till 25. Our mantra is keep coming up with the ideas, keep talking to the clients, keep delivering what we already do, whilst at the same time sprinkling in some magic and some exciting new ideas. And
Absolutely.
24, I think, is going to be a tricky year, but I'm expecting growth and uplift through 24 and into 25.
Fascinating. Look, I mean, those are very inspiring words, actually, James, right there. Just about continue to speak to clients, keep them inspired, and then spread the magic, in different ways. One aspect I was curious about was relating to factual formats. And is that like a new area of focus for you? Factual
No,
format.
no. It's actually one of the bedrocks of our business. I mean, our one of our biggest shows is called House Hunters International, which is on every almost every day on HGTV in the US. It is a
Hmm.
hugely popular show, and is screened all around the world. And actually, our very origins, not our first commission, but our second commission was a show called Cash in the Attic, which was commissioned by the BBC. We made thousands of episodes of it. And in fact, we recently brought it back in a new way for Discovery in the US and Channel 5 in the UK. And we've sold that show to 167 countries around the world. It's a very
Wow.
popular lifestyle format about finding hidden treasures in your home and selling
Ah.
them to make money for a dream.
Hmm.
It's a very, very popular show. Millions of people love it. So actually, that long-running, returning lifestyle format is a great business to be in, and it's absolutely one of our core expertise. And Leopard USA is the main proponent now of those big international formats, such as House Hunters International.
And then, along with that, is the next big category for you documentaries? Because you mentioned
Yes,
documentaries. Okay,
yes. I mean, there is a huge appetite globally for very high-end documentary, which can cost $1 million an hour. So
right.
it's very premium.
Hmm.
There is a significant appetite for it. And actually, we have set up an innovative business model, which is international co-production. And that's increasingly becoming the way of the world because there are audiences all across the planet, whether they're in the US or Scandinavia or Australia or France or Germany, these big countries that want superb premium content, but can't afford $1 million an hour on too many shows. They can afford
Right.
one or two perhaps a year, but not as many as they would like. So we positioned ourselves, and we started this before COVID, as a bridge between these different buyers all around the world. So we have deliberately set up relationships with
Ah.
commissioning executives who know their audiences well, and they
Mhm.
want big scale documentary, and they have very high expectations, but they can probably only afford 30-40% of the total budget. So it's actually a very good business model. It's an innovative business model as well that works very well for us because it means that we can retain rights. So
Right.
we may sell 30% of the show into the US,
Hmm.
maybe 10% into Canada, 10% into Scandinavia, 20% into the UK, France, Germany, until you get to a package which makes up 100%. And then what we become is the core broker, if you like, that one leads the creative, because you've got to have a creative voice at the heart
Right.
of a show like
Right.
that, but also really helps drive the business model. And it's supplying clients with what they really want, which is very high end documentary at a
Hmm.
very competitive price point. Because if you're only
Right.
paying 10 or 20% of the budget, you're
Hmm.
getting a fantastic $1 million an hour show for one or $200,000. It's a very, very attractive offer. So
Correct.
again, it was about identifying how is the world changing. Well, increasingly, the world either wants really high end or lower cost, long running, and we do both. If
Hmm.
you're going after the high end, people in countries all around the planet, they want to access it, but the channels that are supplying them can't afford it. So we were like, well, what are we going to do about this? Are we just going to stop doing it because no one country can afford it? Or shall we just seize the opportunity and say, well, we'll become the kind of hub and we'll have relationships with all these different buyers and we will sell a piece of this new project to them, to each of them, and then bring them all back together again. And of course, that relies on a big international network, a lot
Yeah.
of communication, and a lot of trust. And at the heart of what we do, you have to have trust
That's
because
right.
these are big, expensive shows, and
Yep.
that's before you even get to the point of working with the people who are maybe telling you their story on screen. These people are perhaps revealing themselves in a way which is sensitive or delicate or politically explosive in some way, depending on the subject matter.
Hmm.
So you can imagine that you're operating in a way which is extremely diplomatic, sensitive. You've got to be bold because you've got to ask the difficult questions. You've got to
Yes.
have strong business acumen because when you're selling 10% of a show to one's country, you have to say to them, you've got 10% input into this show, but I can't give you control of the show because it'll make the
Right.
show a complete mess. You want to
Right.
make sure that we, as the creative leads, deliver you something that's going to be excellent.
Hmm.
Therefore, we'll give you the opportunity to input, but you can't take control. So that
Right.
requires, again, careful negotiation. And then you have to deliver, and you're delivering for multiple clients at the same time, not just
Hmm.
one. So it's not an easy business model, but it does really work.
Fascinating. This is James. This is really, really interesting because we've got a host of members from Australia, India, Japan, and now increasingly from LATAM, who are actually wanting international co-productions.
Yeah.
So I think after we're done with the podcast, we'll again circle back with you with some of those queries. But I was curious about two things actually. One is that some of these international co-productions that you referenced, are these usually with other broadcos, or are these with broadcasters and streamers from those markets?
It's a mixture.
Okay.
Um, we do a lot of direct sales to networks
Okay. Okay.
because that means we are delivering directly to the client. We know what the client wants. They've got a budget. They know their audience. They feed back to us what's their audience expecting. We
Hmm.
can then feed that into the creative. So we do a lot of that. And we do
Okay.
have a network of buyers all around the world. We do also work with production companies who've got original IP or an
Okay.
original piece of access, an incredible talent that wants to do a show
Hmm.
where it makes sense to work with a production company in a different territory where they're obviously going to understand the nuances and the flavor of the local audience. So we do that as well.
So you mentioned that usually parting with control is problematic, especially with folks who are sort of getting in 10% or 20% of the budgets. How do you look at IP in these situations? Uh,
Well, you're dividing the IP per territory.
per
So
territory.
you
Okay.
so and you will be selling. Let's say you're selling 20% investment into Scandinavia.
Got it.
Scandinavia will take a license, and they will
Understood.
buy a license for that show for 3 transmissions, 5 transmissions, 10 transmissions, and then the rights revert back to us, and then we can sell those rights again. So
Fascinating.
we remain the IP controller. It is a good business model because it means as well that a lot of content, especially in the science, technology, history space, these are evergreen
Yep.
type projects. They will have a shelf life of more than just 5 transmissions. They could go on for 10 or 20 years.
Hmm.
Indeed, now we're seeing with fast channels, there is
Right.
a huge appetite for high quality programming that can be up to 20 years old. If it's high quality and using AI now, you can up res shows. So
That's
shows that
right.
may have been shot on a low resolution back in 2000, you can up res them to Super HD. So,
Fascinating.
AI is also going to be an incredibly important part of our future.
That is that's again there were so many aspects that you talked about that were super exciting and super interesting, just as we are going through this massive transformation, both
Mm.
from the internationalization and globalization of production, as well as the AI component that you referenced, and the varied business models. James, my team will reach out to you for a few opportunities that we are actually pursuing on the co-pro
Great.
side, but I'll take that offline with you.
Great.
One aspect which again I absolutely had to ask you, given how innovatively you are sort of navigating multiple territories, is what's next in terms of either expansion into new genres or new areas of creativity, or also new regions and new territories. If you can talk a little bit about that.
The one thing is certain in life is that is change. You
Yes.
cannot stand still. It is death if you stand still. So we have to be constantly restless. And I am constantly restless, and I encourage my team to be constantly restless. So we are always looking for new ways of producing content, new markets, new ways of collaborating, and so on. So in terms of where we are headed, we're not going to be making any sort of giant U-turn changes, but what we are going to be doing is building on our core strengths and bringing some new technologies into play. So building on our core strengths, well, our core asset is obviously content creation, storytelling. We tell stories, and we can tell stories on IMAX, on Netflix, even on Snapchat and TikTok. And of course, on one, you've got a 30-second story, on one, you might have a 10-hour drama series. So, all of those things, they are storytelling, finding great characters, finding a hook, finding a way in, making people laugh and making people cry. That's the core of what we do.
Hmm.
So we will continue to do that as our core expertise. The model of this broad diversification really does work, and we want to continue. And there are some gaps in our business model. There are some genres where we would like to do more. I have to say that UK is very good for producing original IP because we have the law that Tony Blair brought in back in the noughties, where called the Communications Act, where producers such as myself and my colleagues, we retain the IP rights.
Hmm.
So we want to continue to develop the business in the UK. And there are some genres or subgenres that we are not producing in so much right now. I'd like to do more in the reality space. I'd like to do more in the factual entertainment space. I'd like to do more in the scripted drama space. So there are definitely opportunities for either acquisition or further joint ventures, or indeed bringing new talent to the table. We are looking at new business models. Argonon is unusual is in that we are completely 100% independent. We
Hmm.
have never taken investment.
Okay.
We've done that deliberately because we wanted to be in charge of our own creative prowess, our breadth, be able to take the risks that we wanted to take. And that has felt right for this time. We are starting to think about bringing in some investment, and we've had some approaches recently. So it's possible that we would like to go down this route, and that would be for some strategic investment to do a number of things. One, build our talent pool. Two, continue to invest in IP, and there are opportunities when IP comes our way, and maybe we can raise 80% of the funding, and there might be a 20% shortfall. If we were to have a war chest, we could get into production more quickly and retain those intellectual property rights. And that's an opportunity for growth. Another opportunity for us is back catalogue. What's been an interesting trend recently is that content is no longer exclusive. There's been a complete sea change in our industry. Whereas in my entire career, everything was all about exclusivity. We are the only channel that's got this unique show. If you want to see it, you can only see it on our network, nowhere else.
Right.
And the belief was that if that show went anywhere else, the audience would see it diluted and they would lose interest. Research recently has proved that the exact opposite is true. So when a show is on one platform and it's also on 2 or 3 or 4 other platforms, and then it's broken down into segments on YouTube, and then it's disseminated on TikTok and Snap and other platforms, what it does is it builds the brand.
Right.
It makes the audience more excited. So actually there are more opportunities for people to make money by going non-exclusive. So what that says to me is our back catalogue, we've got 10,000 or more hours of back catalogue. We need to do an AI project on our back catalogue because some of that is being monetized in a significant way and some of it isn't. We're leaving some money on the table there. So I've pulled the team together. Of course, there are a number of people in my organization, director of technology, head of legal and commercial and others who are really excited about AI. How can we put that into our distribution model to start managing our library in a much more proactive way? So we are looking at bringing some investment into that and new technology. And in terms of new territories, we are constantly on the lookout, one, for great projects and ideas coming out from around the world. That, you know, obviously recently we've seen an amazing proliferation of ideas coming out of South Korea, for example, The Masked Singer. It's a huge entertainment show that we produce in the UK. There are amazingly talented people in South Korea. And there are other places too. We've got a keen eye on Israel. We've got a keen eye on Turkey. And there are other places too, which are emerging as very innovative content creators where we can access other people's IP. Awesome. And in terms of working with talent, you know, we've seen, thanks to COVID, that fabulous people are now accessible to us all over the world. Our show House Hunters International, for example, we shoot that in all continents every single week. We produce more than 2,000 episodes of that show, and there's, you know, more coming. It's very, very popular. Before COVID, we would send crews all over the world to go and film it, which of course was expensive, tiring. Everybody always had jet lag, and really bad for the planet. You know, we have an imperative to do our part to help with climate change. So flying people all over the world, racking up air miles, has always been terrible, but we had no choice. COVID changed all of that. So what we did in COVID, and this is one of the ways how we came out of COVID much more quickly than some of our competitors, was we said, we're going to stop people flying anyway. You know, they're not allowed to. And even when they were starting to be allowed, we said, we're not going to go there. We're going to find very talented local crews, talent all around the world, who have got some expertise, but have probably never yet produced primetime American television. And using WhatsApp, using FaceTime, using every possible method that was available to us, particularly at the beginning of COVID when it was all experimental, we're going to train them up to produce primetime American television. And then we will have, and we have now, a network of 100 teams in 100 different countries around the world producing primetime American television. And you know what? When they did the first shoot back in March, April 2020, this was an experiment. My heart was going ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. The rough cut came in. What's it going to look like? because if it doesn't look prime time, we are really in the pickle. And you know what? Within a minute, I knew I could not tell the difference.
Oh wow.
Because my directors who were sitting in New York at the time were directing using WhatsApp, using FaceTime. They were directing drone sequences, action sequences, very difficult access filming, using local crews, local talent who are being upskilled. I mean, it's great for diversity and inclusion. You're upskilling people around the world to produce really high-end primetime American TV. And I couldn't tell the difference. I was like, yeah, this works. This actually works.
Fascinating. Fascinating. That is, uh, I mean, all of these aspects actually resonate so much with even the network that we have on Vitrina, right? You talked about AI solutioning to unleash the potential within your back catalog. I think there are lots of companies that are listed on Vitrina right now who would absolutely vie for that business and want to partner with you and your team on that piece. The
Great.
other aspect is
I'd love to reach out or for you to put me in touch, please. Yeah.
absolutely. So that was one. The other is we have a few groups, as I mentioned, who is sort of vying for co-pro in LATAM, Australia, Japan, and India. There were a couple of other themes. There is a very high-end studio in Asia that's actually looking for a partner in Europe for sports documentary co-productions. Maybe a joint venture, possibly.
We
So
just
again,
we just made a huge film called The Wall. We
wow.
featured the top three women free climbers,
Huh.
and it was actually sponsored. It was sponsored by Adidas, and it went out on Netflix and Apple. It's a 90-minute special, and our two women won silver and gold at Tokyo.
Shucks, that is
So we're
fascinating.
really sports documentary. Netflix have just opened a whole division commissioning sports documentary. There is a huge global appetite. It's an interesting trend because for a long time people wanted to watch a soccer match or American football match or a cricket match. They would love that, but didn't want to watch anything in the sidelines, like what happens behind the
Right,
scenes.
right.
That has completely changed. There is now a huge appetite. Look at the Cristiano Ronaldo documentary. It's huge.
Okay.
People are fascinated. The Beckhams. People are
Yep.
fascinated by the sports personalities and their life and the business aspects of sport. Because, of course, these are huge and complex and challenging, and there's lots of drama. So, sports documentary is a big growth area.
Fascinating. So again, I mean, I'm going to sort of line up a few of these introductions, James,
Thank you.
with you and your team. One, I was absolutely wanting to check this with you. Are you coming to MIP TV next week?
Actually, I'm not this time. No, I'm going
Okay,
to Los Angeles. I'm going to Los Angeles. I've got a big 2 weeks of meetings.
understood.
So unfortunately, I'm going to miss it. But some of my team will be there.
Okay,
My
okay. I'd
Yeah,
love to catch up. I think my team and I will be there starting this
yeah.
weekend. But again, James, just such a fascinating conversation. I've been very excited to speak to you because the group just looks so interesting from the outside. But as you sort of talked about the journey, this has just been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And
Well,
I feel
you
like
asked very good questions, so thank you.
thank you so much. Again, on behalf of everybody at Vitrina and our entire business network of 60,000 execs
Thank you.
worldwide, who really sort of look at us to bring out, fascinating companies and very interesting, innovative approaches. I really want to thank you for spending this time with us.
Well, thank you. It's very exciting. Can I just do two quick things before you
Please,
go?
please. Of
One is
course.
I've written a book, which is a bestseller on Amazon in the US and the UK. It's called The
Huh.
Flexible Method. It's published by Ashet. And I interviewed some incredible leaders about how to survive through crises and come out on top. So I would love it if your audience would be interested to pick that up. You can get it on Amazon.
Fascinating.
Um,
Huh.
and I love feedback.
Fantastic, fantastic. And again, I didn't know about the book actually. So congratulations. When did that come out?
Came out in the middle of last year. So published in the UK in March and in the US in July.
Fantastic, fantastic. No, again, thanks for sharing that, and also thanks for sharing your time today, James. Wonderful, wonderful speaking with you today.
Thanks so much for your time. Look after yourself. Bye.
Thank you so much.